a character in the video game was like, she was the victim of somebody stalking her or whatever. So somebody drew fan art of her and like in this like in a very voluptuous manner, like busty. And I think she had elf ears, and people were getting outraged on Twitter, like, yo, she been through actual abuse and she was a victim of stalking. You shouldn't sexualize her. And I'm just like watching this and I'm like, yo, she's not real. This isn't a real person. It's not like somebody. What's up, y'all? Right now it's a Sunday night. I'm listening to some Cowboy Bebop tunes, and I decided to just read some of you guys' comments and do some responding to them and make a video out of it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys are enjoying your weekend. Staying safe out here. Where I'm at, it's snowing right now, and yeah, man. So first comment. I know too many men who are lonely and depressed. Robot wives would become a $1 trillion business model overnight. Yes, it would become a very lucrative business for a lot. It's going to be like, I was doing a live stream yesterday and I was talking with the chat, and it's going to be like modding characters in video games where people are going to have updates. They're going to have different wigs, different enhancements. It's going to be out of this world. But of course, the downside is going to leave a lot of men purposeless. A lot of men are going to wake up with no reason to be, because, you know, a lot of men's motivation, our primary motivation is access to women. Like, that's just, to be blunt. It's the reason why a lot of men, we seek out status, because with status comes just, you know, a different accessibility to like the most beautiful women in the world, because we're very visual creatures. And of course, I know what people want to say, I know it's very shallow, and when you can have all the women in the world, but then that can become very shallow. But it's our primary motivator, right? We're, you know, our lizard brain. That's what we seek out. And if robot wives, once they become implemented in a way where it's something you can buy, infrastructure will collapse overnight. The type of men who work on the oil rigs and the electric lines, anything that keeps society going, the water, plumbing, everything, infrastructure will collapse overnight, unless at the same rate robot wives are being produced, AI robots are being produced to replace these jobs. If not, there would be no reason for men to do anything. It would just be like a man's life would just be on welfare, robot wife, and video games, because men, we are very, very simple. It doesn't take much to please us, no matter how complicated modernity or mainstream tries to make us seem to have. No, men are very simple. We don't need a lot to keep us entertained or whatever. So it'd be video games. That would be our entertainment and escapism, and robot wives would be just pleasure. But it can, like I said, it's going to lead to very purposeless, unfulfilled lives. I would say that. The reason why having a job and going to work, yes, can be redundant and mundane, but it leaves you with a sense of fulfillment at the end of the day once you look at it back at it in retrospect. And it's just robot wives are going to cause men to be like sunken in just pleasure, like just pleasure, where it's just going to leave a lot of men drained out, so yeah. The real question only a handful are asking is, what's wrong with modern women that artificial intelligence with no emotions is the preferred alternative for lonely men? Yeah, I remember when I say this in the video, a girl I used to talk to, when I showed her comments of so many men saying that this anime looks good, it looks like a relationship I would like to have, but it reminds me of my loneliness. And when I would show her the amount of people having the same sentiment and reaction, she was just surprised. She couldn't understand like how this can be. And I think this goes to the, women, they really don't understand like a man's experience, how like daily suffering that men go through, because men and women, we just live different lives. So I think women, please don't take this the wrong way, I'm just looking at this objectively, right? And I think this is why my girl I used to talk to couldn't understand this. Of course, the average woman just has access to men. Like whenever at a moment's notice, she can always get a man's attention. But when it comes to men, like the average man can't just call up, a woman or whatever and just like, hey, let's hang out, or hey, come over, or let me come over, or whatever. That's why there's so many simps and like this desperation that men will go to have these robot wives that, of course, will never. I don't know about never. I don't know what the future holds as far as that direction. But even in this anime where my wife has no emotion, where this robot can't communicate emotionally like a regular human being, but this man in this anime is willing to settle for something to just talk to or respond at all, rather than be invisible to the majority of women that has nobody to talk to. He prefers a robotic response rather than no response. The reason why this men will settle for this, because most men are invisible. Most men go, it's crazy, man. Like, of course, most men just don't measure up to what a woman wants these days. That's why it's the 80-20 rule. 20% of men get all the women, and they just share all the women. All the women are sleeping with the same men, and 80% are just left in the dust, forgotten in a dark corner, with getting no attention at all. And it's funny, a lot of you guys know, if you listen to my full videos, I always say at the end, check out my music. I remember going to an open mic. I've been to a lot of open mics, hanging out with artist friends, and one of my friends decided to go into comedy. He wanted to try out comedy, so he asked me to come to an open mic with him. And I remember going to this open mic, and this is when I stopped going to open mics as frequently. And so it was like a different generation. I was around a different generation. I'm a millennial, right? So it was like some Gen Z, some millennials. And I was shocked at how socially awkward, like, the guys were at this open mic. And it stunk. Like, it really smelled. And when women, say that hygiene is like, if I go on dates or whatever, like, man, you smell good. What are you like? What? I shower. What are you talking about? Hygiene is like a thing that I guess is lacking in the dating market, or I don't know. But this comedy, I remember going to this open mic comedy night, and it just stunk. And I'm like, oh, this is what women are talking about. Like, guys are just not taking showers, and how socially awkward they were. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. And, a lot of the guys look socially underdeveloped. Like, they look like Play-Doh, like very like soft, just like they haven't had much experience on them. And I think that's due to modernity. It's a funny phrase, touch grass, but it actually has meaning behind it. A lot of, people aren't going outside. They're not just experiencing life. They kind of, going on a journey, even in this most simplest form, to just, help develop yourself or whatever. And I can so when I see some of these comments, and it's a lot of socially awkward men, a lot of, people spend their times online, rather than outside. And I think that's to a lot of people's detriment as well, So, of course, like, I think women develop socially faster than men because, everybody's always trying to talk to a woman. So, like, naturally, she kind of, develops or knows how to just navigate herself socially whenever in, social environments or whatever. All right. An impactful part about Nora's Vincent. Okay, so this is on the same video where the woman that tried to pass as a man for over a year and a half, somebody left a comment about this. An impactful part about Nora Vincent's self-made man is she was a feminist. She expected life to be really easy when she went undercover. Instead, Vincent discovered it was wrought with difficulty and quit the experiment early. She ultimately came to the conclusion that men's problems don't get discussed much in the mainstream, and men and women need to be more supportive of each other in general. Yeah, this goes to what I said earlier, that a lot of women can't fathom a man's experience. And I had to kind of conclude that actually in recent years, it's actually surprising when I have conversations with women, and a lot of women, like I said, they only talk to the 20% of men who are around women all the time and who other women want to be around. So that kind of gives them a warped perception of what the average man is, but they don't know that they're not talking to the average man. So when I have conversations with women and I kind of bring forth this topic, yeah, man, a lot of men are lonely. She's like, what are you talking about? Men have it so easy. And I was like, wow, you really think that? Like, you just don't know the average man. You just don't know the average man. Like, there's a reason why most homeless people are men. There's a reason why I can't say this on YouTube, most people who unalive themselves are men. Most drug addicts, men, and it was something I had to get used to. Like, women just don't understand the average man's suffering and struggle, not just in modern times, but definitely in modern times. But this is just something that's been since the dawn of man. Man always had to endure suffering. This is why stoicism, I think, is and I'll be making a video on this too, where the Cowboy Bebop is a video that really dives deep into that. But this is why stoicism is, I would say a must trait that every man should adopt. Like, you have to adopt stoicism, because as a man, suffering is just going to be part of your existence. You can't avoid it. You can't ignore it. The more you try to avoid it and ignore it, the more it just piles up and just, overwhelms you to one day it makes that man want to unalive themselves. That's why I say stoicism. I say this as much as I can. Y'all hear this sometimes in my videos. My favorite characters, one of their traits I voice a lot is stoicism. Snake, Piccolo, Nanami, these are my favorite characters. Hey, Darker Than Black, these are my favorite characters, man. Stoicism is a must for men, because you have to endure through the suffering. And yeah, when this woman, Nora Vincent, tried to pass for a man, like she became depressed, she became suicidal, like she had to put herself in a hospital because she was a risk at unaliving herself, and that's optional, that's optional. And I'll get to another comment where I talk about the hero's journey. But yeah, man, just even her, she, like, passing as a man, like, she probably just got a glimpse of what it's like to be just an average man. Like, that's just something that, like, one thing I would say advice is stoicism, and just realizing nobody's coming to save you as a man. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody cares. And that's just due to, I think, evolution. There's another comment. I didn't save it. Damn, there's another comment where we talked about this. I responded to it in this same video. I think that's just due to evolution. Men are the disposable sex. It only takes one man to propagate a society. You can have one man and 100 women and you're good. That you'll triple the population within a year. But the reverse, if you have one woman and 100 men, no, because that woman can only bring one baby at a term. So due to evolution, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, that's just our evolutionary brain at work, where men are just disposable. That's why the Titanic, men, stay on the boat, women and children, because you guys are going to be the future to keep the species going. Part of a man's role, suffering is part of our lives. We can't escape it, So yeah, man, it's funny because I do have conversations just with women and they just don't understand. They can't fathom. They're like, what are you talking about? Men have it easy. And they just can't fathom that, they solipsism, like a woman only sees the world through their lens. They can't kind of look outside themselves. They internalize everything. And please, I'm just being objective. People in the comment section, I'm not trying to be sexist. I'm not trying to be like, oh, you hate women. Please. If you're doing that, you're actually adding more to my point. But understand what I'm saying. Like, men and women are different. We perceive the world, we process the world very differently. We process information in the world very differently. All right. So next topic. Anime is this is when Crunchyroll thinks anime are for kids. Anime is just for kids. Yeah, sure. Like, we're going to simply forget what happens in Fullmetal Alchemist. Yeah, man, that really pisses me off. And I noticed that becoming more of a growing sentiment within the past few years. The attitude towards anime are kid cartoons. You know what's funny? And I'm glad you said Fullmetal Alchemist, because Fullmetal Alchemist, man, that is such a good anime, man. I rewatched it like maybe 2 years ago, and I was like, damn, this shit is even better watching it another time around, another go around. Like, that deals with government corruption, sacrifice, that lesson that Edward and Alphonse learn when they're surviving on the island, how everything is connected, how it's even like the Lion King in the 90s movie, The Circle of Life. Everything feeds itself. It's that's the lesson of alchemy. Everything is connected, and that really infuriates me. And you probably won't hear it in my expression right now, but that infuriates me when I hear people who are in charge of the production and licensing of anime thinking it's kid cartoons. It's like, man, you are so lost and so gone, but you don't care because you're making millions of dollars a year, so you have no incentive to care. You're getting a blank paycheck and you're ruining people's entertainment and enjoyment that they've grown up for years. So I'm actually I plan on doing a video on Death Note, how Death Note is like a good start of the anime. And I remember, like, I have this rule now. Any girl I talk to, if we're going to be committed to each other, like an exclusive relationship, she has to like anime, and my introduction will always be Death Note. And one girl I've talked to, man, I actually kind of miss her a bit. It's the reason why I like these romance animes, man. I kind of miss her a bit, but I guess I fucked that up. we were watching anime about 2 years ago, or no, this was last year, and I introduced her to Death Note. And her first response was like, she always thought anime were just Power Rangers and cartoons, just Power Rangers but cartoons. And I just laughed. I was like, wow, that's so funny. And when I showed her Death Note, she realized how no, anime aren't kid cartoons. These are anime deals with a lot of mature themes, adult themes, a lot of philosophical groundings or whatever, how to perceive life. Like, no, anime aren't kid cartoons. So, it's funny because Disney is trying to, a lot of Western streaming services are trying to get their hands on anime licensing and everything. And I just see pattern recognition. I just see what these companies have done with Western entertainment. I remember at my old job, it required me to be in a hospital waiting room. And I was just looking at the TV, and it was a Spider-Man. Spider-Man, I grew up on Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. The 90s show, classic. I can still watch that to this day. And in this hospital waiting room, I was just watching the TV, and it was, of course, Spider-Man is someone under Disney, but it was like a kid Spider-Man. It was like, chibi, like chibi, those chibis, like figures. But it was like geared towards like toddlers. I'm like, man, why are they infantilizing Spider-Man? Like, they were like talking like, hey guys, this is what we're going to do today. Like, all right, yeah, you swing that way, I'll swing. It's like, oh man, what are y'all doing to Spider-Man? Stop making this for kids. Spider-Man was never meant to be like infantilized towards like 4-year-olds and 3-year-olds and whatever. Like, it's not meant to be watched like, what's that show? Police Paws, that police show with pets and all that. They were trying to make a Spider-Man like that, or what Dora the Explorer. They were trying to make Spider-Man like Dora the Explorer. And I'm like, yo, y'all, no, man, stop infantilizing these. These Spider-Man was never meant to be viewed in that manner. If you watch the 90s show, and I was never like a big hardcore comic book fan, but I still read the comics. But I was never like, I'm going to the comic book store every week to buy the new issue. Like, my older brother would pass down his comics to me and my other brother. We would just read whatever he had. And if you read those comics, you realize, no, Spider-Man is not for toddlers. Like, kids can read it, but, social upbringing, I think back then, it was more mature than what is going on now, where everybody's so coddled from certain ideas. If you watch that 90s series, man, it definitely is a mature series. And like, I just love the dilemma that Peter Parker always has to deal with, balancing the world of Spider-Man and having a social life with Mary Jane. And, he regrets being Spider-Man to the point he's frustrated and actually has a love and hate relationship with even the idea of being Spider-Man, because it sucks up so much of his time. He can't have a social life, and Mary Jane dumps him multiple times because of it, and he becomes dark. He becomes like the Venom, but the symbiote takes control of him. Those are mature themes. Like, and then when I saw this Disney show with Spider-Man, like talking like a toddler, hey guys, this is what we're gonna do today, and you watch the 90s show in comparison, it's like, man, they really ruined this. So that's what they want to do to anime. That's what they want to do to Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is not for kids. That's a very mature show. Like, kids can watch it, but it's not geared towards kids, if you know what I mean. It's not like a Paws, Police, whatever that show is, or Dora the Explorer. That's what they want to do to Demon Slayer. That's what they want to do to Naruto, JJK. That's what they want to do. They want to infantilize it, because that's how you kind of keep a brand going. If you keep it geared towards kids, because they grow up with it, and then that's how you keep it constantly being pumped out for the next generation. At least that's how they think. I mean, you see so many properties being destroyed with that type of thinking, so it's actually counterintuitive. But all right, next comment. I rambled so far on that one. I literally heard someone say that anime must appeal to Western standards to be sold in America, despite the fact that it's the whole appeal. The whole appeal is that it doesn't. Right. I hate that line of thinking. I mentioned this in one of my videos where there's a somebody from Japan working on at Disney as far as the anime department, and looking to globalize anime and make it appeal to a global audience. And I'm just thinking, like, man, you just don't understand the appeal of anime. The whole fact that it's attractive is that it doesn't appeal to a global audience, and it being or maintaining its cultural Japanese identity is what makes it appealing in the first place. And I don't want it to appeal to a global audience. I don't want to hear no slang from where I'm at. I don't want to have a character talking like somebody that I know from down the street or around the corner. No, I don't want to hear that shit. I love watching anime. I like the aesthetic of it. Actually, and I say this this is the last golden era of anime, where anime just isn't the art style. For me, it isn't the animation. It's like the world, the aesthetic, the cherry blossoms, the fashion. When I see somebody go to school, the houses with the sliding doors and people take their shoes off when they go in. I love to dive in a whole nother world. I just like diving into this whole nother world. The relationship between kids and their parents, just like whatever, like, you know, the atmosphere, the environment. Stop making it appeal to kids. You know, this whole idea of, like, you know, even with the whole representation bullshit narrative or an argument that no, like this whole, I'm going to make a video on this too, where anime doesn't need representation. You know, current generations trying to force that on the anime. I want to be seen. You know, and when Akira Toriyama died, he made the world pause for a reason, because everybody from across the world loved DBZ. Everybody, every culture, everybody knew DBZ. And not once have I seen a character in DBZ look like me. Not once. But I don't need that to happen for me to be able to relate to a character. No, I don't need a character to look like me in order to relate to them. That's Western social conditioning. And I feel bad for people that really actually believe that. And it's funny because anime is like the most popular medium right now that defeats that narrative that you need representation in your art for people around the world to enjoy it. No, you don't. Anime completely defeats that that narrative. I would say 95% of characters in anime all look the same, and they don't look like everybody from across the world. All you need is, what anime does well, it sticks to universal themes that appeal to humanity on a very like deep existential level, that you feel it in your soul when you watch this character go through something you went through, even if it's not direct. You know, even if it's not direct, when you see a character struggle, a character struggles in their own way, but you can kind of apply it to yourself, but without forcing it to, you know, be, you know, talked about in a certain way when the topic comes up. But I'll say that for another video when I dive deep. To all those individuals that think Japan is your servant, there has come a time in your life when you are made to accept that the world does not always revolve around your ideals, and choose your battles wisely. That's funny. You know, I just watched the latest episode of Orb, Movements of the Earth, or On the Movements of the Earth. And the whole premise of that show is that people, like the belief in that time, people think the sun revolves around the earth, but really it's the earth that revolves around the sun. And you just even bringing up that contradiction will get you killed. You know, that kind of speaks to, like, it's the reason why people say, you know, the world doesn't revolve around you. It spoke to that narcissism where people think that everything should accommodate them rather than them assimilate. You know, when I see these videos sometimes of tourists going to Japan, and like there's like some people will post a restaurant that has a note, hey, no tourism allowed, no tourists allowed. If you don't speak Japanese, don't come in. Like me, if I saw that, I would just respect that. I'm like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. They want only the native people to come to that restaurant. You know, that makes sense. I don't get offended by that. I don't have that immature toddler thinking mind phase. Everything must be mine, me, cater to me, accommodate me. No, I'm in a whole different foreign land. I should assimilate here. But a lot of Westerners have this narcissistic mindset of accommodate me rather than assimilate. You know, that speaks to the narcissism of the Western mind, and it makes all of us look bad. And I really get tired of it. And Japan better wake up, man. They're making a lot of mistakes. They're making a lot of mistakes that we in the West have already done. It's like they're having a delayed reaction rather than looking at all the mistakes that the West is making. And they better wake up, man. They better wake up, because they're going to destroy, or they're going to allow themselves to be destroyed and have the essence of their culture be stripped away and ripped out. Everything that makes their culture and country appealing is because they keep their Japanese cultural identity intact, and the results are telling. You know, another comment, I couldn't find it, but I remember reading this comment when I made this video, People Love Anime But Hate Japan, where that people were saying that Japan is a very, like, you got to conform, you can't stick out, there's no individualistic thinking. You know, every like there's a lot of collective group mentality. You know, there's more, people are more collective in Japan versus here in the West. People are more individualistic, me, freedom. I must be I must stand out. I must find new ways to stand out, which leads to like, you know, people are always finding a new way to stand out, which is why we got a lot of weird shit over here happening. I wanted to respond, but sometimes I just don't respond because, you know, if you can't come to this conclusion on yourself, that really just shows the lack of critical thinking that you have. Let me tell you, you can say all that about Japan. I look at the results. Japan, when I went over there last August for a whole month, extremely safe, extremely safe. Look at the results, man. No crime, virtually no crime. Like I can't. I mean, and that was my second time being in Japan. The last time I was there for 8 days, but I wanted to go for a whole month this time. And let me tell you, man, just to be able to walk around 3 a.m. without a care, without like the sense of anxiety, you got to worry about being robbed or, you know, burglarized or, you know, somebody trying to start a fight with you. It's clean, man, very clean, very efficient. Everything just works. Everything just functions. Everything just functions. You know, my brother lives in New York and I'm like, man, how are those subways going? And he says that, man, you know, people blow that out of proportion. There's only a few incidents that happen a year. Somebody dying and getting pushed into the tracks and being burned alive. It doesn't happen every day. And it's just like, it shows the desensitization of like, yeah, it shouldn't. In my head, I didn't challenge him or anything. In my head, I'm like, yeah, it shouldn't happen at all, brother. Like, it shouldn't be happening at all. And the fact that you're just like excusing it, just like, oh, no, man, like, yo, it shouldn't be happening at all. Let me tell you, in Japan, everybody's quiet. It's, you know, it's like I said, when I took the trains, I'll take the trains every day. Everybody's quiet. Everybody's like chill. There's no like nonsense or this loudness. So when I see these tourists, like videos of tourists acting out like fools on these trains, it's like, man, you are just being so disrespectful, man. And then you make it hard for people like me when I go over there. I have to like go out of my way to show I'm not like this other person in this video. I have to go out of my way, which is very annoying to do. It just shows you the difference between the Western and Eastern mind. So when I saw that comment saying this is why I hate Japan, because they're, you know, everybody is, you can't stand out. There's no individualistic identities over there. And I just look at the results, like no crime, clean, efficient, everything works and functions. Like if a train is late by 3 seconds, it makes the news headline. That shows you the lack of dramatic outbursts that country has. We're over here, you know, you see a headline every, you know, somebody died, somebody got shot, 10 shot this weekend, 10 shot that weekend. Like, I look at the results. Where's all this individualistic thinking leading us, and where's like the more don't stand out thinking leading them? Like, nobody's like, everybody wants to go to Japan as a tourist. Everybody wants to tour Japan. Everybody wants to visit Japan. And not too many. We used to be like, you know, the West, like everybody used to want to go to LA, Hollywood, or New York to see Times Square. Not anymore. Not anymore. This ain't the, you know, it doesn't have that attraction, that attractive appeal that it once had back then. It does not. But everybody wants to go to Japan, and results speak for themselves. The results speak for themselves. All right. I probably won't get to all these comments. This video is actually longer than I thought it was going to be. You know, this is me rambling, y'all. Okay. As someone smart said on Twitter, people on this app treat fictional characters like real people and treat actual people like they are fictional. I'm actually making a video on this too, where like this ever-growing faction of people who can't distinguish between reality and fiction. And while I say that as a joke, there's actually a part of that that's not hyperbole, and I actually mean that. I think due to current generations, there's people spending so much time online that they think the online world that they share with a screen is the real world, and actual real world doesn't exist. And I think that's warping people's mentality. So when they see a character that's literally drawn with an ink pad or marker, crayon or whatever, they perceive that to be a real person, and that's why they get outraged sometimes. And I just didn't know, like, I had to get used. I didn't know that was like a thing till like years ago, but I'll say that for another video. But yeah, the type of person that can't distinguish between fiction and reality is one of my latest videos where I say should anime gatekeep itself, and I use Mushoku Tensei as an example. That I remember watching the anime. I'm like, yo, this is really good. Like, it's funny as hell. Like, I just don't take these things serious like the way these other people take it so serious. Like, they really think these characters are real, and they try to map on actual reality onto the show. Like, this is a real person they're watching. Like, this is actually happening in real life. And it really surprised me years ago when I got put on the Mushoku Tensei, and I'm like, yo, this is fucking good anime. It's funny, good action, good character development, like interesting characters, and it's funny as hell. Like, Rudis is a funny character. I just don't take these things seriously, right? I'm like, wow, people really take this shit seriously. And, you know, like, and I won't save a lot for when I'm saving for the other video. Like, an anime like My One Hit Kill Sister or whatever, people like get outraged, like, because it's, the whole joke is this sister really loves her brother, right? She, like, of course, she doesn't care that when she hugs him tight, her breasts are all up in his face or whatever. Like, when I watch an anime like that, I laugh because I understand it's supposed to be filled with absurd, outrageous humor. That's hilarious. Like, I don't watch this thinking, oh my God, this anime is promoting incest. But there's people that really watch this thinking this is wrong. This should be condemned. The United Nations should ban this. I'm like, whoa. You are taking this way too serious. Like, I watch it and I laugh. I do not take this shit serious. But there's people that really cannot distinguish between reality and fiction. Like, this, even when it comes to fan art, it's like, wow. I remember there was a character from a video game that recently came out, something, maybe Stalkers or something, I can't remember, where like people drew like an elf version where like the character in the video, it's probably like months ago, a character in the video game was like, she was the victim of somebody stalking her or whatever. So somebody drew fan art of her, and like in this like in a very voluptuous manner, like busty. And I think she had elf ears, and people were getting outraged on Twitter, like, yo, she been through actual abuse and she was a victim of stalking. You shouldn't sexualize her. And I'm just like watching this and I'm like, yo, she's not real. This isn't a real person. It's not like somebody went to the police station, grabbed the victim and like put her on the corner and put her in some clothes. Like, they really treat these characters, these fictional characters, like the real people. And it really baffles me. I can't believe, like, there's really people that can't distinguish between fiction and reality. It just surprises me, man. It surprises me, yo. It's funny. Like, I laugh at. I just watch the outrage sometimes, and I just laugh. And it's like, but it's not funny at the same time because, you know, their like mental illness is going to lead to the destruction of just entertainment and art. Period. Like, it's wild, man. It's wild. I'm like, wow, people really can't distinguish between fiction and reality. Like, I don't know if that's just because of the current generation spending way too much time online, like where people spend all their time online, so they really think this. Like, what's that movie? What's that movie? Shit, with Jeff Briggs. What's that movie where goes into the computer and they ride those bikes? I forgot the name of it. Somebody might say it in the comments. What's the name of that movie? Anyway, that's how people view the online world, man. All right. It's like a vegan. I don't know which video it was from. This is from the video of the cosplayer girl saying this is she's sick of this type of genre and prefers this other genre. It's like a vegan and going to a steakhouse, then ordered whatever the most popular is, get surprised when it's not vegan and demands they change the recipe even though they already have a vegan menu. Then when the waiter tells you about the vegan menu, you still refuse to use it because it's not as popular. Yeah, people want what they want. People want what they love to be prioritized and upheld to the utmost. That's due to, you know, narcissism of the Western mind. I try to put myself in this shoe. I'm like, if somebody asks me what are tropes that you're tired of seeing in anime, that's a weird question. I don't know. It's because the tropes are what makes anime, and if you have a problem with tropes, I don't know if you like anime then. I don't know. Like, these tropes, and a lot of times I didn't know there were names for these tropes. It was just I would watch an anime and I'm like, oh, that's like a trope or whatever. Like, I didn't know there was a, like, I remember watching animes like that's like a trope in anime, right? Where the sister kind of likes the brother a little bit too much. Like, I'm watching an anime currently right now. What's the name of it? Where like these the two characters, their grandparents are kind of like push them into marriage to unify both families, and they hate each other or something. I'm married to like my arch nemesis or something, and the the guy character, his sister, like, you know, they have a funny relationship or whatever, where she's like way too comfortable with him. But that's like a trope in anime, right? So Irregular School of Magic, where the sister really likes the brother. Sword Art Online, where the sister likes the brother a lot. Like, these are tropes, right? But I don't take these seriously. But so the tropes are kind of, I didn't know there was names for these. There's probably a name, but I just know that's like, oh, that's a trope or whatever. And if somebody said, yo, what are the tropes? I was like, if it's a trope I don't like, I wouldn't be tired of it, because the beautiful thing about anime, as I said in the video, it provides variety, where if I don't like a certain something, I just watch something else. So I don't get tired of it, because I don't consume it to the point I would be tired of it, right? Like I said in the video, I'm not into gay romance stories. So I just watch heterosexual romance stories because that's what I'm into. So I don't get tired of gay romance stories because I just don't watch it. I'm not into it. I just watch something else because there's plenty of variety to choose from, you know? So I don't get tired. You only get tired of something when you consume it way too much and you see too much of it. I don't see too much of what I don't like because there's a variety of somewhere else to go and watch something else. You get what I'm saying? So, and also, like, what this comment is saying, I think the point they were trying to get across is that harems with male characters are popular because that's what the market wants or whatever. And I guess an analogy I can come up with, that's like me saying, if I'm tired of seeing harem animes where the male character gets a whole bunch of girls, well, that's like a subgenre of anime or whatever. That's like saying, when I play fighting games, I hate when the other character can react to what I do. Well, that's part of the fighting game. I hate that the other character can hit me. Well, then it wouldn't be a fighting game. Like, I don't understand. Like, that's part of the fighting game or whatever. I hate that this character can shoot a blast at me. All right, well, it sounds like you just don't like fighting games. So go play an adventure game. Go play an RPG or first-person shooter. Like, that's, you know, that type of shit baffles me. Like, there's so much variety to choose from where I don't get tired of anything I don't like because I don't watch what I don't like because I don't have to. Where if you said something like that in the West, then that question would make more sense, because in the West, when I say that in the modern day Western entertainment, it's so everything is being forced to be consumed through a narrow lens. You could tell these are the same type of writers writing the same stories, where they have just taken things from the past, recycle it, whether they gender swap, race swap, try to, you know, make it appeal to a modern audience. Then you can probably say, I'm tired of this shit. But then that's why I watch. It's the reason why that's all I watch anime now. Like, anything new, I will only watch anime. Because I just become so tired of what's being produced currently in the West as far as entertainment wise. So in the West, you could tell, like, it's the reason why modern entertainment in the West is lacking, because there is no variety to choose from. There is no, okay, I don't like, you could tell this person's politics being pushed in this story of a movie and the show. You know, let me go watch something else. Well, there is nothing else to watch because they keep recycling the same writers that have the same point of views, and it's becoming a vacuum and a bubble where there's no diversity of thought, you know, pushed in the writer room or whatever. So then that I can understand. That question would make sense more with Western entertainment rather than with anime, because in order to be tired of something, you have to consume it over and over and over again, where, you know, something you don't like or whatever. But okay, this is a good segue. You can see the path the MCU took from Iron Man to now, and see how mainstream has destroyed the comic book industry and why manga has overtaken Western comics. Yep, Iron Man, where they came out in 2008. Man, that first Iron Man movie still holds up. Matter of fact, I might watch that later tonight after I watch Sakamoto Days. That first Iron Man movie that shit still is good. I didn't like Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3. It's funny because if Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3 came out today, doing standards being so low, Western entertainment, that would be considered good. But I remember I didn't enjoy Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3. I didn't really like it. But Iron Man 1 is really good. Yeah, man, there used to just be a standard with Marvel movies. Winter Soldier. God, man, I watched that like 2 weeks ago. I was like, damn, this is such a good movie. Winter Soldier, Captain America Winter Soldier. Oh, man, yo. And yeah, the reason why manga and anime are so popular right now is because the Western market has just left the void that anime and manga has just fulfilled, and completely filled that hole of that lack of entertainment, that desire for just, like, you know, just good entertainment, good stories. You know what's funny? This is why I stopped really paying attention to statistics, and I've been relying more off of my intuitive thinking more. Like if you listen to my videos, it's really my intuition being spoken a lot, you know? I remember there was a statistic or study, or not study, but statistic, looking at the data years ago. And there was this narrative being pushed that, comics are doing well. Comics, are thriving more than ever. But intuitively, that didn't make sense to me. I'm like, nobody's reading these comics. They're thriving. They say the data's there. And I kind of had to, like, my intuition was, at conflict with this data. I'm like, I just don't know anybody that reads Western comics. I know people that read manga, and anime's popping right now more than what, I could imagine compared to how I grew up. And so when you look closely, they were taking the credit for manga because they were categorizing it all in the same category. So they would put Marvel Comics and anime under graphic novels. So Western comics weren't popping, manga was popping because they're in the same category. They were able to, I guess, find a loophole to say, yeah, comics are thriving more than ever. Look at the graphic novel chart. Graphic novels are selling more than ever. Like, no, y'all think y'all slick. Manga is popping right now. Western comics ain't popping. Manga is popping. So you got to like really look closely. That's why I really stopped relying on statistics and data, because analytics, to a huge degree, because that shit gets misrepresented. It gets mishandled, to where it, they try to force it to push a narrative like, no, Western comics are really doing well. They keep their investors, still pumping out money. No, look at the data. No, comics are in the gutter. Manga is popping right now. So that's why you got to really pay attention. That's why use your intuition, man. That's why I really trust my intuition on a lot of things, because that just didn't make sense when I became aware of that data. Like, what? Comics are thriving. That just doesn't make sense. Like, I just don't understand. I'm like, oh, you motherfuckers think y'all slick. That's why. So yeah, man, you gotta pay attention. This is a comment from the hero's journey. What about the girl's motivation? I'll save a video. I'm gonna dedicate a video to that, because I can use like Yona the Dawn, something like that, because that's similar to Daenerys from Game of Thrones. They have sort of the same journey, Yona the Dawn, and Daenerys from Game of Thrones. They sort of have the same journey or whatever. The reason why the hero's journey is unique to men, because like I said earlier, nobody's coming to save men, and that's something that men innately understand, and the journey is something that the man has to go on. There is no choice. If it's either that's the path to survival, or you'll just die. Even with Yona of the Dawn, even with the Yona of the Dawn, like if you look at the hero's journey, it's always the guy setting out on his own or whatever, until he meets his mentor. Like, he starts from a place of like, kind of like loneliness. Like he said, like I used Goblin Slayer. Family died. He had to set out on his own. He had to take that path. Like Bruce Wayne, his parents died. He has to take that path. He left Gotham, met Ra's al Ghul. Like, Yona, I'll probably touch on it briefly. Like, because even she at the beginning is still supported by I forgot the dude's name. The dude with the, what's that weapon? My man, basically the dude who can use that. I forgot the name of that weapon, but he's a combat fighter. He's extremely skilled, and he basically protects her at the beginning of her journey. Where a man, that just isn't happening. It's like, you got to protect yourself. You have to go on that journey yourself. Full Metal Edward Elric, like, these are people that have to, be self-reliant on themselves. So that's why the hero's journeys is something that's like really excluded to men. Like I said, there's nobody that's going to save us. So let's see. Yes, it's better to be called a weirdo nerd and have things to enjoy than to have your hobbies ruined by tourists who inject their own beliefs instead of adjusting to the culture. Yeah, that just speaks to the more of the Western mind. It's funny because, weird nerd culture has like, before it became mainstream or it became cool to be a nerd, like, because everything that nerds got made fun of or bullied for back then are now mainstream. Lord of the Rings, anime, it's yo, it's so funny when I see on Twitter, like, people had this like rewriting of history that anime was always popular. Like, yo, I can just tell you are, I could just tell you are speaking so much out of ignorance, man. No, anime was not always popular. You were considered a nerd. You could watch Cartoon Network all day. If you watch anime, it's like, what you watching? What the hell you watching? Maybe outside of Pokemon. Like, everybody watched Pokemon, but no. If you, nah, man. Anime was not always popular, man. And it's funny because, like, you know, everything that a lot of nerds got bullied for back then or made fun of back then is now like being used for all of these shows. Star Wars, you know, you were Star Wars nerd, Lord of the Rings, Amazon, you know, all of these, you know, and they're all being mishandled and destroyed in real time. All of it's being destroyed in real time. I hate to see it, man. And I was really passionate when I said that in that latest video. Why should anime gatekeep so? When I use Lord of the Rings, like, I'm a casual when it comes to Lord of the Rings, but man, I hate to see that fandom being, I hate that what that fandom is being, you know, forced to suffer through, man. Even the Warhammer fandom, the 40K Warhammer fandom, where they're trying to, I only know, I'm a casual one. I have no history or knowledge of Warhammer. I just know from 40-Year-Old Virgin when he was painting that little figurine. But to see them trying to destroy that fandom or destroy that world, the lore, where they're trying to, like, you know, oh, there were like, I think woman Warhammers. I don't know what they're called, but they're basically trying to just, you know, make it more inclusive. You know, when these activists get a hold of your fandom, fuck, you could just, if you don't address that shit early, as soon as you see activist-minded people trying to infiltrate your fandom, you got to address that shit early. It's like a virus or an infection. You got to attack it early. You can't let that shit spread, because once it spreads too far and wide, it's too late. The whole body dies, man. And I hate to see, like, I'm a casual when it comes to Lord of the Rings, the Warhammer, but I just hate to see other people infiltrate people's fandom, man. Like, oh, that shit is infuriating, man. It's like, man, I feel bad for y'all. And you know, it's happening to anime to some degree, but, you know, we'll see, man. We'll see if the Japanese wake up. What other, I was about to say something. What's another thing? Oh, Elden Ring. I remember I was a casual when it came to Elden Ring. You know, because, you know, I never played any Souls game before Elden Ring. I remember playing that on live stream years ago, and I was like, yo, this shit is hard. This shit is hard. Why do I die in 2 hits? And I remember, even as a casual in that game, I remember game journalists and mainstream outlets like reporting like, oh, they should make this easier, more for casual gamers. It's too hard. There's too much gatekeeping. There's too many barriers. They should have a difficulty setting. And I was like, I just get mad at that shit. Even if I'm not part of that fandom, I just get mad when other people try to do that and try to change what other people have been enjoying. Like, all right, then don't play it. Go somewhere else. But no, that entitlement, man, is such a Western phenomenon. It's that entitlement, like, make it accommodate me rather than me assimilate to it. And I was so glad when the creators didn't allow that bullshit. Now, they should change that body type 1 and body type 2 bullshit out. They stop, like, cut that shit out. Just make it man and woman, male or female. Cut that shit out. That's my only complaint when it comes to the creators. Stop accommodating these activist type minded people. Stop it. What's another, so when the creators refused to do that and bend the knee to these game journalists, I was like, yo, praise to y'all, man. Thank you. Finally, that was like the first glimpse of some creators standing up against these activists and game journalists and like, no, this is our product. We're going to keep making it for the hardcore people who actually play our games, not for you casuals who want to come in and try to change everything what made this game popular in the first place. That was such a refreshing sight to see. Now, just change the body type 1 and body type 2. You could say I'm trying to, but you could tell they're trying to appease activists in some type of way with that bullshit. Anime fans must learn from Blue Archive fans. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Blue Archive. I think I watched the first few episodes in the anime when it came out, but I know that's a video game to start with. But yeah, the Blue Archive fans, they gate kept well. I remember they were dealing with mistranslations with their video game, with these localizers doing these corrupt intentional mistranslations, but luckily the fandom spoke out loudly and got that shit fixed. And I was like, yo, that's what's up. Like, okay, that's what's up, man. Other fandom should learn from y'all. That's what's up. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I have a vague understanding of this, but I think the creator is on the side of the fans rather than not the type of creator that's like trying to appease mainstream and appease the fans, kind of like being a fence sitter. Like, no, you should be on the fan side because they're the people buying your product. Don't appease these, these activists that hold these journalist positions, man. Japan, y'all gotta wake up to that shit. I understand you guys are polite. I understand you guys are a very accommodating culture, but you will be taken advantage of, man. I'm telling you, people are aware and they will take advantage of your kindness. You gotta like know when to say no. Like no, we're gonna keep making entertainment for our fans. Okay. I think this is the last one. I never once understood what the intention is with changing stuff like Star Wars. Like, what is the intention? Get rid of the established customers who kept it alive for decades for people who could care less about it? How's that going for them? Oh yeah, Star Wars is a dead brand now, and even the casuals, they want so much, don't bother with it anymore. You'd think they learned this years ago, but I guess not. Yeah, man. Yeah, the thing is with narcissism. With narcissists, you can't convince them out of their narcissism. These are people who are obsessed with vanity, being validated at every turn of their life. And even if they fail in the face of their vanity and narcissism, they will just keep doubling down on it. If they continue to be subsidized. And that's why I have no sympathy, no mercy when I see these studios doing these layoffs of these people who have contributed to the deterioration of so many properties beloved for decades. I have no sympathy for these people getting fired and laid off because their studios, are losing money because they're losing all that investor money that they got away with, for years, for misrepresenting, analytics and statistics, as I said earlier. They're losing money. So now they're facing all these layoffs. I have no sympathy because you guys have contributed to the destruction of what people have loved for decades. You have destroyed art. You have destroyed, man, it frustrates me, man, because you have destroyed, like, I don't know, man. I grew up with so much of this stuff. Like, it's funny because, anime, the only thing I watch as far as anything new is anime. But my palette of like what I consumed was very wide. Like I watched anime along with Western entertainment, Like I would get off work or, get off school. I would watch Toonami. And then I would watch, Batman. I would watch movies. Like even like in my later adult years, man, I would get off work and I'd be like, all right, I would just scroll through anime. I wasn't never any part of like many forms. My brother was. He would keep me in tune with a lot, but I was never a part of any form. I just enjoyed anime. I just enjoyed it. I never thought until I realized some shit changing. I'm like, yo, what's going on here, man? What's up with these conversations taking place? And I I'm like, oh fuck, man. It's like, oh, these people are trying to destroy anime. They're trying to destroy what I grew up on. As I seen with, all these other properties, Marvel, DC and shit. Like, as I said on one of my latest videos, along with anime, I would watch Batman, I would watch Spider-Man, I would watch the 90s X-Men, I would watch these movies, and then I would look forward to, I watched everything. And just to see, now all I watch new is anime, because anything new being produced out of the West is just garbage. I can't stand it. Like I can't watch it. It's not that I can't stand it. It's just not for me. So all I watch anything new now is anime because anime is the only thing providing stuff that I like. And anything that I watch of Western entertainment is all old shit. It's all shit from the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, even the 70s, Star Wars. Like it's all old shit. Sitcoms, all old shit. I don't watch anything new from the, it's very rare that I will. Like Deadpool and Wolverine, I watch that because, and that was a love letter to like millennials and Gen X because we kind of grew up with that. They basically was like a love letter to people who grew up on the Fox version of Fantastic Four, X-Men, that basically, Blade, man, if you watch that Blade movie, that shit still holds up to this day too, man. Shout out Wesley Snipes, he killed that role. So yeah, man, and that argument you hear when like, oh, the reason why we got a race swap and gender swap because people won't watch anything new. Hold on, my Cowboy Bebop music cut off. I like listening to this music as I talk. There we go. Shout out Cowboy Bebop, man. You know, when you hear these arguments that, oh, the reason why we got to race swap and gender swap and sexual orientation swap everything that's already established and popular, because nobody will watch anything original. They won't watch anything new. And that's bullshit. Because anime just defeats all of these narratives. Anime has damn near like 99% of anime is no representation, but yet people from across the world enjoy it. Anime just continues every season. There's like just a new, number of animes being produced. Like they produce this shit like there's no tomorrow. So this idea that they need to race swap everything and gender swap everything is just false. Anime defeats that. Like anime is more popular than ever. And that has such a lack of representation, and they shouldn't go in that direction to appease the activist mind that thinks representation is everything. And what people have been socially conditioned to believe in the past few years or decade or so. That's all bullshit, all bullshit. So and even still, like people are seeking out retro games. Like retro games are being sought after more than like current games. Like that's, and not just from like people who grew up with the retro games. It's Gen Z like seeking out this shit. Like people who didn't grow up with it, because Gen Z wants malls to come back. That's funny. Gen Z wants arcades to come back. Yo, man, when I was in Japan, like arcade culture is different over there in Tokyo. Like the arcade culture dominates, man, and that was so cool, man. One of the, I missed that trip. That was really a good trip. Basically, and that was my first trip taken outside, like by myself. That was something I wanted to just go to, by myself. Nobody I knew. It was just a trip. Basically, I was part of a program, and basically it was the same program that people from around the world could take. So it was people from Italy, Germany, Saudi Arabia, Denmark, Sweden, a couple people from the States. And basically you would go to school in the morning, Japanese language school, and then they had like an itinerary of activities you could do, part of the program. And then between that, you could just do whatever you want. You could venture out, take the train wherever you want. You could do whatever, stay out as late as you want, go to a bar. And man, that shit was fun, man. And one of the guys that I met on that trip, he was from Italy. He was an ex-pro fighting game player in Guilty Gear Strive. And that dude, we went to a Japanese tournament together, and I never thought I would go to a Japanese fighting game tournament. And he was just whooping ass in that game. He made it to winners finals. He won the first week he went, when we was there, he went by himself. And then the second week he told me about it. I was like, yo, man, you got to take me next time with you, man. And then I saw him just whooping ass with, what's his name? Eno in Guilty Gear Strive. Oh man, that shit was fun, man. I never thought I would be at a Japanese fighting game tournament. That shit was like underground too. You had to like go underground literally to watch that. To just, oh man, good times, man. Arcade, yeah, but I was saying arcade culture is different in Japan, y'all. And then even like we went to an official arcade. Our tour guide, since he lives in Japan, like I didn't know you can actually bring your like PlayStation, your console controller to the arcade now and plug it up to the actual video game through yours. Being like, damn, you can actually bring your controller now. You don't have to be reliant on the what are they called, the hit stick, the controls or whatever, arcade controls. Man, it's good times, man. Oh man, Japan, that was a good times, man. Good times. It just be like, if anything, that was my first trip I took outside the States by myself, right? I always had a travel buddy I would go to Jamaica or Mexico with. It would just be me and him. And then my first trip in Japan, I went with him and his siblings. And so he just had a kid. So, that travel life is going for him, or done for him, for at least for a good point, a good time. And so I was like, man, I want to go back to Japan. I was like, I'm gonna just go by myself. It was like, I was a little bit anxious, I was just a little bit anxious to go to. The reason why I was so anxious, because of course, like it's, Japanese, that's such a radical language difference. It's not like you're going to Mexico and people still speak English, like you can still find people still speak English. You can go to Jamaica, that everybody speaks English on the resort, whatever clubs you go to, everybody still speaks English. Japan, you got to speak their language or whatever, or like use Google Translator. So I was a little bit anxious as far as that goes, but I was like, no, let me take this trip. Let me get over that. I was like rude ass and Mushoku Tensei, exposure therapy. Nah, let me get out of my comfort zone. See, that's why people overlook that type of shit when they watch these anime. Oh man, you're a what if you watch that? Nah, man, you gotta look deeper into these themes. So when I say I'm like rude ass, I had to get out of my comfort zone. Not like I was like facing any trauma. It was I just wanted to challenge myself and just go to a foreign land by myself and like just, you know, not be with anybody I know. Like everybody that I meet is going to be somebody new, and I still keep in touch with some of these guys, man. We all said Happy New Year to each other. Good times. Staying at the hotel, buying, you know, of course, buy your own food. You gotta take care of yourself. Man, good times, man. Good times. All right, this video is long as shit. I don't know how long. This shit's gonna be like 45 minutes long. I was not expecting it. I was expecting this shit to be like 10, 15 minutes long, but I didn't realize how much I can ramble. But all right, y'all, that's it for this video. I hope it was entertaining. This is like me freestyling and just, you know, kind of talking in the moment versus my other videos where like it's more restrictive. I had things that I plan to talk about, or versus this. But as I say in all my videos, if you haven't already, check out my music on Spotify, link in the description below. If you love those Samurai Champloo lo-fi mellow boom bap vibes, the subtitles always fuck up what I say. They think I'm saying boom bad vibes, boom bap vibes. But yeah, link in the description, man. If you haven't already, check out my music. And I'll see you in the next video. Free think. Peace.